So the first website I'm going to show you is Kent University's Careers Explorer, which is at kent.ac.uk/careers/explorer.htm. And this is a really simple little tool which can just help generate some career ideas. And you can see here it says I want a job using, and then basically you decide what kind of job you would like in the future based on different areas. So writing, for example, some of you might think, yeah, I love writing, I would like to do loads of that in the work I do, so you'd like that very much. Then you might get down to speech and you think, well, I'd rather not have to speak that much. I like writing, but I don't want to have to talk to people all the time, so maybe you dislike that one. Analysing, oh god, I don't think I like that. I'm going to say strongly dislike that. Planning, maybe you you're neutral about that. You don't mind doing some planning. It doesn't kind of bother you if you have to, but you don't love it either. And you basically work down all of those, answering every single drop down. And then once you've done one for every single one, you click on Suggest Careers, and up here will be a list of career suggestions. You'll find that there's probably some things there that you've heard of before, great. Might be others that you think, oh my gosh, that's completely new to me. Each one you can click on, and then that will tell you a little bit about that career area. So you can decide for yourself if that's something that you're keen on doing. Also, just to point out that when you click on different ones, for example, independence here, it'll give you a bit of information about what that is. So independence means, for example, freedom to work alone, to make your own decisions, plan your own work. Or cooperating, for example, tells a little bit about what that means. So if there's any words you're not really sure about, you can look here to see what those mean. Then once you've found your career suggestions, if there's a couple that you think sound kind of interesting, you can then look on the information about them, and hopefully it'll say in that whether or not you need a degree or what kind of qualifications. But if not, I'm going to show you another website now which will help you figure out if you need particular qualifications, if there are specific college courses you can take, if you need to go on and do a degree, and that will help you make decisions about what you need to study next. Okay, so the next website we're going to look at is the National Careers Service website, and on it they have a section called Job Profiles, which has got lots of useful information about thousands of different jobs. For starters, if you're not really sure about what kind of specific job you might like to do when you're older, you can look at different sectors. So for example, say you think you might like to do something with IT, you could look in information technology and information management. If we click on that, you can see a whole range of different jobs, some of which you might have heard of before, but might be lots you think, oh, okay, so everything from a computer games tester to an indexer, to a systems analyst, to a network engineer. These are all jobs in the IT sector, and you can find out more about each of them by clicking on it. Alternatively, if you've got a specific job in mind, maybe after the Kent Careers Job Explorer kind of a tool that you might have used, as I mentioned before, you might have come up with some ideas of what you can do in the future, and you want to find out more about those particular jobs, you can put that straight into this job profile search area here. So let's just try it out with a job that I get asked about quite a lot, which is a psychologist. So if we click that, you can see already there's a few other ones that have come up there related. And the top one is the one we'll look at for starters. So psychologist job information, click on there. And it'll tell you a little bit about what that job is all about. And then if we scroll down, you can see it tells you about work activities, the hours and the conditions, what the income is like. And just on the right here, you can see related careers. So you might click on that and think, actually, that's not really for me, but actually, I'd like to know more about an art therapist, for example, so that bit's quite useful. But the main thing I wanted you to have a look at, say you do decide that a psychologist is something that you would like to possibly do in the future, reading this entry requirements bit will allow you to check that what you're thinking about studying next is going to be suitable. So we can see here that you need to get a degree in psychology. So you can now check, okay, if I want to get a degree in psychology, are there particular A levels I need to be taking? And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. And it also says, you need to be getting 5 GCSEs, A to C, including English, Maths and Science, and you will need 3 A levels. It doesn't say so here, but for psychology, ideally you would need to have at least one of those being a science. So this is quite a useful site for checking just a little bit more detail about different jobs and exploring ones that are related to it, and making sure that you kind of know what sort of qualifications you're going to need to get. And if there are a couple of different jobs that interest you, hopefully there's some overlap with the sorts of qualifications that would be useful. And then if you can make sure you study those, you know that you're not going to get any surprises later on. Another website that I really recommend having a look at is one called plotter.co.uk. And Plotter has lots of different useful information on it. Just before we look at the thing I want you specifically to look at today, just give you a quick overview of what's on offer here. So under career options, if we look at worlds, for example, you can see lots of employers have created their own world, and also different kind of areas of work. So for example, you could look at the BBC if you're someone who's interested in maybe working in the media. So if you explore the world, you can have a look at, sorry, my computer's loading a bit slowly today, but you can have a look at all the different roles that are within the BBC. So if you kind of, for example, hover over here, broadcast engineer. So it's probably maybe something a lot of you haven't heard of before. So they're the people that design and fix the technical equipment used by people working at the BBC. And then you've got audience planners, you've got radio producers, and many other different roles. So the world area of Plotter is a great way of exploring different ideas. The next thing that I'd like you to look at in particular in relation to planning your next steps is for you to try out the game they have here. I'm not going to go all the way through it because it would take rather a long time, but it's not that long, but just longer than we have together today. So what are your career must-haves? The next page asks you to put them in order what you value in a career. So just going continue here. You can choose from the choices on the list which are most important for your ideal career. It should take about a couple of minutes, and then there's different sections to this game, which basically all help narrow down really what would be the most suitable thing for you at this point. And again, as I always say, it doesn't mean that that's definitely the job or career you're going to have forever and ever, but it's just to help you, give you some ideas, and then you can then use those ideas to decide what actually the next subjects you should be studying at school or college should be, or whether an apprenticeship might be the best route for you. So do have a look at Plotter and use all the great resources they've got on that website. Another website it's really worth looking at is one called iCould.com, and iCould has thousands of different videos, video interviews with people doing all sorts of different jobs. You can go to explore career videos here, and if you click on the first drop down part of the menu, you can then look at different career videos related to subjects maybe that you enjoy at school at the moment, or you think you might enjoy. Related to job types, or related to life decision, or if you already have an idea of the job you want to see, if you've got any videos from, you can just put it in here. So let's just have a look at by subject, and here you can see they've got a whole range of different types of subjects, many of which you might have already studied. So if, for example, you're someone who really enjoys PE, let's click on physical education. So you can choose between PE or sport. So let's have a look at sport. straight away you've now got 48 different career videos where people do all sorts of different things related to sport. Great. Okay, so you might want to look at sport development manager, or head of sports, leisure and science, or an activity instructor, rope access training, all sorts of different things. Mountaineering instruction coach, let's just have a look at that one briefly. And that will open up straight away into a video. I'm just going to pause it. Underneath it you can see it tells you a little bit of information about who this person is, and then it gives you some more job related information, so the description of what the job's like, and then again qualifications. So again you can check, are these things that I need to be studying at college next year. So iCood's a great little resource for exploring ideas really, and getting a bit more of a reality of different people's jobs. So you're not just reading about what the job is, but you're finding out what it's really like. What are the best things about working in that area? What are the difficult things? So it's a really good place to come and find out more about what possibilities there are for your future. Another great little tool that the iCood website has is this Buzz Quiz, which is a really short, about 5-minute quiz, asking various questions. And comes out with what your strengths are really, and kind of what makes you tick. Actually it says it here, strengths makes you tick, and connects your sort of personality and interest to an animal, but also comes out with some career suggestions. So that can be quite a fun little activity to do, just to kind of bit of inspiration. Now the last site I'd like you to look at is UCAS.com. Now UCAS is the organisation which you apply to university through. So it's a place you can check what kind of requirements you need for different university courses. So looking at the undergraduate tab here, if you do browse through our search tool down here, make sure you say where you normally live. England. So say for example, going back to the example we used earlier of psychology, if we put psychology in here, and you don't need to put who the provider or location is because you're just checking different search courses available, and yet you need to be ticking that. So let's say for this year, even though it's not quite yet, you'll come up with 164 universities offer psychology courses, and we're just going to pick a random one. Let's say Bath University. Okay, so they've got psychology degree here. Let's check that one, and then you can see here it's got a summary of what the course is like, and then you can see here we've got an entry requirements tab. So if we click on that, and then you can see GCSEs. So they will want you to have GCSE or equivalent maths and English, English language at grade A or above, essential if not offered at AS or A2 levels. So if you're not going to take maths and English further, you need to be getting a pretty good grade at GCSE, so that's important to know. Then if you look at the A levels tab, so they really look for very high grades to get onto the psychology degree, and they consider all subjects except general studies, so anything pretty much, but they prefer subjects that would include some of these, so psychology, sociology, biology, chemistry, physics, geography, maths, statistics, anthropology, economics, politics and philosophy. So when you're making your decisions, knowing that, for example, this university, at least if you wanted to go and apply to do psychology there, ideally you want to be doing some of these kind of subjects. So it's quite useful to use the UCAS website, especially if you're thinking about careers that need degrees, to check what kind of degrees and what kind of requirements each degree has. I'm just also going to quickly show you, if I just go back a few pages, back to the home page, which was ucas.com. You'll see there was also a section here which is after GCSEs. Now if you click on that, it's got lots of different information about choosing your A-levels, and you can also search for courses in the local area. So if we click on the search for courses and you put in Brighton, for example, here, or Chichester, let's try with Brighton, and then we'll search in this area only. You can say which place you want to study at, but we'll keep that open for now. And let's say, for example, we'll put in, say you're thinking about doing English A-level. So we'll search that. Okay, just checking Brighton, the city of Brighton and Hove. And here we can see that there's a whole load of different places where you can study English. So that's going to be a fairly popular subject, so there are going to be lots of different colleges, but you can have a look through there. If you've got a slightly more unusual interest, then this is quite a good site to check where you might be able to study that locally. So the UCAS site is also a really good one to use in your search for choosing what subjects to take after Year 11.